We have made it to the series finale in the Golden State Warriors, MyNBA franchise, here on NBA 2K25. Before we get started, though, I actually want to spend some time talking about the 2K26 series that will be starting over the weekend. In case you missed the team reveal and trailer that was uploaded yesterday, I recommend you go check that out now before I spoil what happened within the next 5 seconds. So we are doing an expansion team for 2K26. Who the team will be, I don't know yet, because I don't know what teams are in the uniform vault. It could be the Seattle Sonics. It could be a fictional team. I'm fully prepared either direction. I'm going to have to see what the uniforms in the vault are when I get 2K26 tomorrow. So right now, I don't really know what the team is going to be quite yet. But I think regardless if it is the Sonics or a fictional team, it'll be a very fun series and a very different series. And I say different because right here, welcome to the new era. I put this in the trailer specifically because the way I view this series is that we're starting a new era. I think from 2K21, when I started the custom draft classes, to this year, 2K25 is kind of the modern era. And those 5 series were all formatted pretty similarly. 2K26 is going to be a lot different, which is why I'm okay with bringing back a team like the Sonics, even though we had them a few years ago, or potentially doing a fictional team if there is a uniform combination and city and team name that I really like in the vault and I think is a perfect fit for what I'm looking for. The fun part about not knowing is that we get to be surprised, and you guys aren't going to know the team until the first episode is uploaded on Saturday. So let's get back here to our Warriors. In the last episode, we went through Season 6 in its entirety. We went 59-23, grabbing the 2nd seed in the Western Conference, making it all the way to the NBA Finals, and it was a pretty miraculous playoff run. We needed to win 3 Game 7s in order to get there, but by the time we got to the Finals, we were just completely out of gas, and the Detroit Pistons, who we beat in the Finals last year, ended up getting revenge. They beat us in 5. Cade Cunningham, Tyler Hero, Ron Holland win their first titles. Kawhi Leonard likely gets to retire with another NBA championship, his 3rd. We're going to get through a lot of seasons quickly today and try to see what happens in the careers of all of our favorite players throughout this series, whether they were on our team or notable, highly drafted guys who you guys may have made as custom prospects across the rest of the league. So we're going to try to keep this core together for as long as possible. It's not going to be easy, though. Last offseason, the goal was to run it back. This offseason, we cannot do that because practically the entire goddamn roster is not under contract. Of our core rotation, Jonathan Kuminga is quite literally the only player on the team next year. We're going to have some tough decisions to make. A guy like Evan Mobley, who was not very efficient offensively, could he be a casualty? Could a veteran like Herb Jones be a casualty? We've got a lot of guards. Could Rankin Destino, coming off a really bad playoff run, could he potentially be a casualty? Rolog and Stokes are restricted, and since those guys are our 2 best players, we're not going to let them go, obviously. But everyone else is unrestricted, so that makes things a little tricky. In terms of the notable retirements, as I mentioned, Kawhi goes out on top. Paul George, Julius Randle, Pascal Siakam, Derek White, my glorious Ken Ochai Agbaji. And I noticed some relevant young rotation players retired who were hurt. Like Albrecht Schwartz on the Raptors is a good young piece. So is Sage Escamas on the Thunder. I guess these guys retired because of injuries. I've never seen that before in 2K. That's interesting. Greg Popovich is done after 41 years in the league. I'm surprised he only won 1 title with Luka and Wemby with the Spurs. PG and Kawhi go into the Hall of Fame. No jersey retirements, though, which I guess with those 2 guys is kind of unclear whether or not they would have any retired jerseys. The Kings get the number 1 pick, and keep in mind we will now be using fully auto-generated classes moving forward here for the long-term sim. We do have a first-round pick, 30th overall. We're going to select a big man, Dion Cook from Belmont. Joe Henry ends up being the number 1 pick to Sacramento. He's a 76. The Sonics got a really good French guard with the 2nd pick. We're going to accept the team options on Adem Bona and Ramon Hodge, so the 2 of them will be back this year. In terms of the free agency class, we've got a lot of restricted guys. I'm going to give everyone here the qualifying. I don't know why Jabari Springer is here, because this is literally the 3rd time he's been a free agent. This isn't even the first time with us. So he's definitely unrestricted. Why would he have a qualifying offer? I don't know. But we've got a lot of guys with bird rights here. Again, given that it's like our entire rotation. So Rolog is a priority, Stokes is a priority, and I'd like to get Jabari Springer's deal done as well. I think he's a young guy on the rise, only 24 years old. Now, we're going to have to renounce some rights, and I think Evan Mobley is the guy that we're going to part with. Mobley's offense just has not been good enough over the last couple of years. He's an awesome defensive player, and we're obviously going to lose some rim protection, but Adembone is a great defender as well. Destino and Salis, I will extend. Salis was an easy one for me, our first draft pick. I didn't want him going anywhere. Destino had the bad playoff run, but we need the defense. And then Herb Jones, I think we're going to let walk. I'm ready for Ramon Hodge to play a bigger role as our 3-and-D wing this year. Obviously, he's not as good as Herb Jones, but he's a lot cheaper, 2 years on a rookie deal. So we ended up bringing back much of our core, but no more Herb Jones, no more Evan Mobley. We do need some more size, even with a Dembona. I'd like to have another 5, so I'm going to go after Isaiah Jackson. I've always liked him in this game, and he ultimately says yes. I ended up giving Romero Birkin a 4-year extension and Nikenya Mbongo a 3-year deal. Around the league, in terms of notable moves, Luka goes back to the Spurs. Paolo returns to Orlando. Jaylen Brown to the Jazz. Carson Young to the Sixers. He'll replace Jalen Brunson, who's going to the Nuggets, while Mobley signs for only $16 million in Dallas. So he didn't really get much money. There wasn't much of a market. And then Baptiste Bisconde leaves Toronto for the Nuggets. In terms of late signings, Khalil Jordan to the Wizards, Martin Sifa to the Hornets. Trae Young goes back to the Spurs. He was there for Season 2 in this series, and then they chose Luka over him. Now he's on the team with Luka and Wemby, and that makes that team really scary. Don't know why Trae Young would do that, though, if he had any semblance of personal pride. In terms of player progression, not a whole lot to go over. I don't think many of our younger players are going to take too many more big leaps now that a lot of them are into their second contracts. We kind of know what these guys are. I don't think, say, Rolog or Stokes is going to make an MVP leap, per se. I could see these guys being multi-time All-Stars, but I would say high 80s, low 90s is probably around where they're ultimately going to stick. So the team looks a little different. We're going to play Jabari Springer at the 5. He's not an elite rim protector, but I do want him to start because I think he's one of our 5 best players. We got to play and beat Detroit in the opener. I like getting revenge. So we're going to make it up to around the trade deadline, see where the team is. And yeah, pretty good. 46-10. Not bad. Not bad at all. Rolog's having a phenomenal year. 27-9-7. Stokes is hooping. Salis is hooping. Kuminga's hooping. Springer is averaging nearly 20-10. We're having a great year. Rolog's even in 5th place for the MVP, which is pretty dope. Despite that, though, the game continues to disrespect us in terms of the All-Stars. Kajai Stokes gets snubbed yet again, but we finally get Rolog on an All-Star team in his 5th season. The efficiency at an all-time best, already at 10 estimated wins added. Hopefully the first of many for Roman Loggins-Burl. So at least we finally get an All-Star this year, our first since Steph. As Everest McLeon wins the MVP. Victor Wembanyama had won it 4 years in a row. He does win the DPOY again. But a new MVP, McLeon, in just his 4th season with the Boston Celtics. Rolog makes the All-NBA second team. His points per game went down a little bit in the second half of the year, but still a very impressive season from Rolog, who has kind of taken the mantle as this team's best player. I always knew he was the most talented guy on the roster, but his consistency's been impressive. 66-16, we win the number 1 seed by 12 games in the West. 5 guys averaging at least 20 points per game. This team is a heavy favorite to make it out of the Western Conference Finals, and it would be a massive disappointment if we don't, at the very least, make it to the finals for a 3rd straight year. Who will we be playing against in the first round, though? It will not be the Sonics. They beat the Clippers, and then the Clippers win the game for the 8th seed. So we will play against LA. They've got a young guy in Jyrese Jackson who's developed well. Dallas Carter is awesome, 25 points per game in his 4th year. We should beat this team, though, I would say fairly comfortably. Clippers would take a game, but nothing more, a gentleman's sweep. And we've got the New Orleans Pelicans. This is a fun young roster. Jamar Fofana in his 5th year, he's developed nicely. Amari Tate, dynamic scoring guard. Zoliel Galvez is an 86. Their roster's really deep, and it showed taking the first 2 games in Golden State. So now we've got a clap back on the road. Luckily, the Warriors would take game 3, pivotal game 4 in New Orleans. Very back and forth game, but we would start to run away in the second half. We only won by 4, though. Kind of close. Into game 5, the home team is 0-4. We've got to take a game on our home soil. Luckily, we do. It seems like we're starting to look more like ourselves. This Pelicans team, I think, is going to continue to stay at the top of the standings in the West. Last year, they really started to develop, but They don't quite have the experience that we do. In the East, Boston blew a 3-1 lead to Atlanta, so the Hawks will play the Pistons again for a third straight year in the Eastern Conference Finals, while we will play Minnesota again. This is the third straight year we'll be seeing them in the playoffs. You may notice someone is missing. Anthony Edwards is currently hurt, sprained knee. He might come back at some point during the series, but if we can take them out early, then we're not going to have to worry about that. Uh-oh. We were up 3-0 and are in danger of blowing it. Into Game 7, Minnesota's got all the momentum. We had the slight lead. I think we got them. All right, good. That was close. If we blew a 3-0 lead, that would have been a problem. So the Warriors are going back to the finals for a third straight year, and it'll be the rubber match versus Detroit. The Pistons have only lost 4 games in this playoff run. Now, their roster looks a lot different. They still have Cade. They still have Ron. They still have Baba Ko. But they've really rebuilt this team. Tyler Hero is gone. Kawhi Leonard is gone. Asar Thompson is gone. But they've added Matas Buzelis, Scoot Henderson, and Cason Wallace. Series is tied at 2 going into Game 5 in Golden State. The Pistons take the edge in the second half, and they lead the series 3-2. I don't know what Jabari Springer was doing all day. In a Game 6, Pistons looking for back-to-back championships, and it looks like they probably are going to get it. I mean, we're kind of in the game, but no, I think it's out of reach. We don't need to hop in and watch. The Detroit Pistons, back-to-back champs with a 30 ball for Cason Wallace in the clinching game. So Detroit has now beaten us in the finals 2 years in a row. Ron Holland wins the finals MVP, not Cade. I honestly think it should have been Cade, but both guys were quite good. Stokes and Rolog were phenomenal here in these finals, but the rest of the team let the 2 stars down. Jabari Springer shot less than 33%. Kyrie Irving, Anthony Davis, and Joel Embiid headline the list of retirements. I'm curious to see Embiid's jersey retirements. I would have to think the Sixers will. And then he did win a championship in Brooklyn. Nope, they're not going to do him. Nothing for Kyrie in Cleveland either. That one feels odd. I feel like the Cavs are going to get to that at some point. The Jazz end up with the number 1 pick, a team who once had a very bright future. But Samuel Queen, their former number 1 pick, his points per game has gone down every year since his second season. His development has really plateaued. They ended up getting a good player, though, with the number 1 pick. That looks like a pretty strong draft class. As we get to another offseason, it'll be a lot less busy for us, but Jonathan Kuminga has the player option, which he declined, so he'll be a free agent, along with Adem Bona. Kuminga's 28 years old. He hasn't really shown many signs of getting worse, so he is certainly a guy I would still like to bring back. At least 20 points per game in each of the last 4 years. Looks like a pretty weak free agency class. Brandon Miller was the top unrestricted guy, so that could mean there's a bigger market for Kuminga, so we've got to get this done now. He accepts, as does Adem Bona, and we will match the contract for Andrado Da Costa. In terms of other moves around the league, Brandon Miller goes to the Heat, G.G. Jackson to Indy, Trae Young to Dallas. He's not real. He leaves the Spurs after 1 year to the Mavericks again. It didn't work out the first time he was there. Will it this time? I don't know. He's a troll. In terms of other moves, Stephon Castle back to the Mavs, J.D. Little to the Celtics, Scoot Henderson after 1 year in Detroit goes to the Heat. Again, not much movement in terms of player progression, although I don't love seeing Rankin Destino going down in terms of inside scoring and athleticism. Those are 2 of the more important attributes, I would say, for guards. We're going to roll with the same lineup, though, for the most part. This core has made the NBA Finals 3 years in a row, so there's no reason not to continue to stick with it. Well, the team started 0-9, and then they were like 4-16. The fact that we're 500 at the deadline is a miracle. I don't know what to make of this team. We're in 8th place, but over the last month and a half, we've been one of the better teams in the West. The entire standings feel like they've flip-flopped. Teams like Seattle are now starting to play well. The East, meanwhile, has been largely as expected, still with like Detroit and Boston at the top. In terms of the numbers, Stokes is playing well. Kuminga's been good. Rolog's numbers are down, but his efficiency is really strong. I don't really think we need to make any moves. This team is playing well despite our horrible start, losing 16 of our first 20 games. No All-Stars, though, unfortunately, which, considering we're 500, I can't really argue with it. Unfortunately, we didn't finish the year off that strong. Only 43-39. As Everest McLeon wins the MVP, Dennis Berry, the number 1 pick with the Jazz, ends up taking home the Rookie of the Year. And then Thompson now on the Lakers. That team is fun. CeCe Cunningham, most improved. Yeah, I don't get that one, folks. He's a career 50% true shooting guy as a 6'11 big through 4 years. Like, I get the numbers per game are good, but, like, CeCe Cunningham is not a good NBA player. That was not a good number 1 pick. He's been a disappointment. So we finish in 8th place. Interestingly, the Sonics, the number 1 seed, a quick rise for Seattle. Just 2 seasons ago, they were picking 2nd overall. And now here they are at the top of the Western Conference standings. We've got to get out of the play-in tournament. I mean, this is uncharted territory for us. This is the worst record we've had in the entire series. The role players' efficiency was not good. Ramon Hodge was bad. Birkin's shooting percentages were rough. Ranking Destino was not efficient. So it's a familiar face for us. The Blazers in the play-in. They now have Chance Palermo. I hope we dive for his knees. No Sila Novikov, no Mikal Bridges because of injury, and we do end up getting the win. Some bad shooting games for the Blazers, while Rolog and Stokes combined for 64. So it'll be a rematch with New Orleans. These guys gave us trouble last year. They were up 2-0 in this series. They took 2 games on the road. Competitive start. Now we're up 3-1. We win in 5. A little less stressful than last year. And we've got Minnesota again. 4th straight season. We've beaten them 3 years in a row. Anthony Edwards is healthy now, though. And no problem. We win in 5 as the 7th seed. And we're playing against the Nuggets, who really have not been good at all during this series. Baptiste Bisconde, Roddy Ramirez, a young guy in his 3rd season, lead the way. They have Jalen Brunson, who's declined a lot. This team really does not scare me, I've got to be honest. But we're down 3-1, so maybe they should have. And they are running away with Game 5. Not even close. The 5-seeded Nuggets, who I think on paper are the worst team we've seen in these playoffs, are going to the finals. Baptiste Bisconde, who the Raptors let go, wins the playoff MVP, while Cam McKnight takes it for the Wizards. Detroit does not make the finals out east. I will point out, Jonathan Kuminga did not play at all during the playoffs, and Rolog got hurt in the Denver series, so that could be partly why we lost, but still. Evan Mobley plays on the Wizards. Okay, they still have McKnight, they still have Giannis. They don't really have a point guard, though. Bub Carrington is currently hurt. This Nuggets team, though, I don't think is that good. I think their roster is more well-rounded, though, than Washington. And the Wizards win the finals. Denver took the first 2 games, but then the Wizards rattle off 4 in a row. Cam McKnight, your finals MVP. And Giannis, 11 years after his first title, wins his 2nd as a number 2 option. Andrew Wiggins headlines the retirement list, traded away for Jimmy Butler in Season 1. He had 3 stops in this series with Miami. Cat spends his entire career in Minnesota, unlike real life, where he won a title here. A lot of good role players. Some interesting younger guys here, including Devin Harbor, a player who I wanted to draft in Season 1. I'm surprised it didn't really work with him. He played a key role on that Nets team in 2028, who won the title, with Booker and Embiid had some good seasons after. At 26 years old, though, he retires. Wow. Eric Spoelstra is done. No Hall of Fame for Cat. I disagree with that. I think he should have gotten in. He does get his number retired. This feels like a Hall of Fame resume. Along with a championship as a number 2 option, I feel like he should have made it. 6-time All-Star. Only made an All-NBA team twice, though. I'm surprised it was that low. The Phoenix Suns end up winning the number 1 overall pick. We have full control of our first-round picks moving forward. We haven't had control for a while with the Mobley and Destino trades, even the Jimmy Butler deal. So with our first-round pick, I'm going to select Conrad Weber, 19th overall. The Suns got a demon number 1. Holy cow, that guy looks good. 79 overall big man, only 18 years old. Going into free agency, not overly stressful. A couple of the role players need new deals. Ramon Hodge, Isaiah Jackson. Hodge is an interesting one because he had a pretty bad season, but I still like his skill set, and I think for a reasonable price, I'd like to bring him back. Very good free agency class for what it's worth, but we have a good core. We have a good thing going. As we take a look at the notable moves, Ja goes to the Bucks, Jokic to the Celtics, Giannis replaces him with the Thunder, and Miko Kapanen goes to the Wizards, where he will team up with NBA Finals MVP Cam McKnight. Dennis Gordon goes back to the Pelicans. He was traded there this year. This is his 4th team. Why does nobody want him? The Kings let him walk. The Cavs signed him just to trade him away for Jeffrey Thomas, who they let go of originally to sign Gordon. And the funny part about this, which makes it all full circle, is the Cavs got the Jeffrey Thomas pick back in Season 1 from New Orleans for Darius Garland. Ron Holland to the Knicks, Rob Dillingham to Detroit, Baba Ko to the Suns. So the Pistons are really tearing it down. CeCe Cunningham to the Bulls. As for player progression, Jonathan Kuminga slips a little bit. Is that because of his injury, or is that because he's starting to get worse? He'll be 30 years old this year. Adem Bona goes down 3. It might be bow over. That was a bad one. Giannis plans to retire. He's having a farewell tour in his first and I guess only season in Oklahoma City with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. As we take a look at the rotation, we're going to roll with the same starting lineup that we have been previously. The bench is looking more and more different, though, by the year, but still, for the most part, the same core that we've had. We're having a really good year, 37-18. We're only in 4th place in the conference. The Clippers are 44-10. Holy cow. They're outscoring their opponents by 17. We're clearly a good team, but the Clippers seem to be on another level compared to everybody else out west. The Wizards had 3 All-Stars. That team is going to be very hard to beat. While Rolog makes it back for a second time. I feel like he was better last year, but oh well, not complaining. We have a new MVP after 2 years of McLeon. It's the guy who was drafted directly after him, number 2 overall in 2026, Silan Novikov with the Blazers, interestingly. The kid that the Suns drafted, Sebastian, wins the Rookie of the Year. Yendi Cambridge, 6th man. He made the All-Star team this year for the Wizards as their 3rd option. And then as we look at the All-NBA teams, it's pretty much all fictional guys for the most part. Wemby's still making All-NBA teams. I saw Shea and LaMelo did, but for the most part, it's drafted guys. 58-24. We played really well to finish the year. The top 4 teams in the West are crazy, though. They all won at least 58 games. Seems like the league was really top-heavy this year when you factor in the Wizards, who've got to be the overall favorite. They won 64 games. Kajai Stokes had a really good year, 25 a night, but he's out for the year with a torn meniscus. We will not have him in the playoffs, and that is a problem because the Western Conference is really good, and now we are without arguably our best player. We've got the Lakers in the first round. I'm surprised the Lakers haven't really been all that good because Shavonte Fitzgerald is one of the best players in the league. This dude's a machine. Multiple seasons of 30-plus points per game. Not to mention, they've added Ja Morant. I think the roster around those two guys is good enough. They still have Donovan Mitchell, who has regressed a lot. He's only a 76 overall. Why are some of the seasons out of order? I don't know. We lose the first game and the second. Uh-oh, that's not good. We take game 3 and game 4, so we battle back. But then the Lakers would end up winning game 5. The road team is 5-0. I feel like whenever we played with this team, we were way better on the road. And here in the sim, that is carried over. Really close game here in an elimination game 6, so we're going to hop in. Keep in mind, Jabari Springer and Ramon Hodge are both hobbling through injuries. And we already do not have Kajai Stokes available with the meniscus. So we really are shorthanded. Rolog drives in. Lakers send help. And Destino is wide open for 3. 4-point game. Big shot by Rankin Destino as the Lakers have it. Ja Morant swings it up for Cameron Tylick. He finds Philip Leopold. Back to Morant, around the screen. Ja in for the layup, and we are within 2. 133-131. The Lakers will not look to foul yet. Quiet game so far for Antoine Saliz. He's only got 12. Saliz on the drive. Pick and roll. Jabari Springer connects on the reverse alley-oop. It's a 4-point game, and the Lakers call timeout. Lucas Bronski will inbound. He finds Richie Nakamura to Leopold, over to Cameron Tylick, hands it off for Ja Morant. 3 won't go. Saliz with the rebound. They're going to have to start playing the foul game. I think we're in a pretty good spot here in game 6. Now with just seconds left, Tylick misses. Bronski the rebound. Back to Leopold. Won't go. Doesn't matter. We are headed to a game 7. This team has played in so many game 7s over the last few years and generally has been successful in those games. Rolog was phenomenal, an assist shy of the triple-double. Destino was really good. Kuminga was really good. Springer, Saliz, and Birkin, though, combined to go 3 for 23 from deep. Yet we still won. And that brings us into Game 7 at home. The road team is 6-0 in this series. And that might continue. The Lakers have the lead, but we're battling back. We are going back and forth now at this point. We might be able to hop into this game. With about 2 minutes to go, the Lakers are building a lead. But then we would respond with 4 more points. And with 30 seconds left and the ball, we're going to hop in. Springer on the inbound. He finds Romero Birkin. Interesting lineup. Birkin turns it over. Tylick to Morant. We're not going to foul. I'm going to put trust in this defense to get a stop and then go for the tie on a 3. It's risky, but I think this is the right play. Morant guarded by Destino. Over to Tylick. Bad shot. Won't go. That's what you came up with? Warriors have a timeout, decide not to use it. With Stokes injured, I think Salise has to be the guy who shoots the ball. Salise, wide open! No, he misses it! And the Lakers win the series 134-131 here in Game 7. We executed those final 30 seconds perfectly. Good defensive possession. We were able to get Salise a wide open look from 3. He just missed it. Rolog and Salise go 0 for 9 from deep. Jabari Springer was great, while Johnny Furphy leads the Lakers in scoring. Fitzgerald and Tylett go 3 for 20 from deep, yet they still win. So let's make it through the rest of the postseason. Ultimately, we would get a Seattle versus Detroit finals. The Pistons are back for a 4th time in 5 years, but a new opponent for them, Rakai Stewart and the Seattle Sonics. Detroit mops the floor. 3 titles in 4 years for Detroit with 3 finals MVPs as Modest Buzelis takes it home for the Pistons. Cade Cunningham's really the only guy left from those original Pistons teams, but he is now a 3-time champ. Tyler Hero, who the Pistons traded for Modest Buzelis, retires his last full season. He averaged 25 a game. Leonard Miller, the former Warrior, is here. Khalil Griffin II, I'm surprised it didn't work out with him. I thought he was really developing nicely with Memphis. I don't know why he didn't stick in the NBA. I thought he was a pretty good young player. Taylor Jenkins retires with the Spurs going into the Hall of Fame. We will have Giannis. He had his farewell tour this year. He also gets his number retired with the Milwaukee Bucks. That brings us into the draft lottery. The Orlando Magic will have the number 1 pick. What happened to the Jazz? They were supposed to be good, and they've been picking at the top for a while. We had the 28th pick in the first round, which I'm ultimately going to select Lou Fudge. What a name. A 6'2 shooting guard from China. So he will be our selection. As for the rest of the draft, the Magic picked a demon with Blake Green, number 1 overall. As for the offseason, most of our guys have 2 years left. Those big contracts are starting to run out, but we've still got them. Could be looking at a big free agency class headlined by Shavonte Fitzgerald, Tyrese Halliburton, Shaden Barnabas, and others. We've got a few guys to pay. Ramon Hodge was on the qualifying offer. I would like to extend him. I also want to extend Louis Delmore. I think he's a good defensive player. The offense isn't great, but he can guard really the 1 through the 5. Fitzgerald to the Thunder. Wow, that's an interesting one. Pretty much all the other guys stay with their current teams. Then across the league, Yendi Cambridge to the Nets. The Grizzlies get C.C. Cunningham. A lot of guys going down. I don't love it. Destino goes up, though, which is good. But a lot of our guys are losing athleticism, which, I mean, I guess that's kind of what happens when you get older. Much of our core is now in their mid-20s at this point, 25, 26, 27 years old. So this really is their prime. 31-20. We're in 3rd place in the West. Salise is out for the year with a dislocated patella. Jonathan Kuminga's the leading scorer. Both Rolog and Stokes, their scoring numbers have gone down. Salise has as well. He was not having a very good year before he got hurt. As for the All-Star game, we would get Rolog, 3rd time in 4 years for Loggins-Burrell, having the best shooting season of his career. Otherwise, I didn't really make any moves. I don't really see what moves we can make, as Carson Adiakale wins the MVP in his 6th season out of Indiana State with the Charlotte Hornets at just 25 years old. Jason Kidd with the Sonics wins the Coach of the Year. Nobody makes the All-NBA team. Mobley's still making all-defensive teams at like 34 years old at this point, now with Minnesota. The Sonics get the number 1 seed again with Stewart and that French guard they drafted at the beginning of the video. I forget his last name. I think his first name is Jacques. The Hornets get the number 1 seed. The East was pretty bad. Jonathan Kuminga, Stokes, Rolog all over 20 a game. Ramon Hodge was a lot better. Springer and Birkin are both hurt, but Antoine Salise is healthy. We're the 3 seed. We've got Minnesota again. They've added J.D. Little. Him and Anthony Edwards in that backcourt is box office. No more Porzingis, though. No more Karl Anthony Towns. They still do have K.J. Jeffries, and they are dusting us. Bring out the brooms. Minnesota finally gets their revenge as they dominate us. A Sonics-Hornets final, a couple of our previous MyNBA teams of the past, as Charlotte wins it all with Carson Adiakale. Former Warrior Brandon Ingram is an NBA champion. Former Warrior Zach Edey is an NBA champion. A big year for Adiakale. He wins the MVP. He wins the Finals MVP. We've had an entirely new Finals MVP every season of this series, which includes Devin Booker, who retires along with Jokic. Brandon Ingram retires as a champ. Kristaps Porzingis in there. Trayce Jackson-Davis, the former Warrior, we used him to move up and get Roman Loggins-Burl and Kajai Stokes, which was a good deal. Although Trayce Jackson-Davis ended up developing better than I expected. He was a good rotational big for a while. We played against him in the finals when he was with Detroit. Jokic and Booker make the Hall of Fame. Booker gets his number retired with the Nets and the Suns, while Jokic gets his retired by Denver. Draft lottery, the Spurs get the number 1 pick. The Huskies at number 2. When are the Huskies ever going to be good? What a sad franchise. I think they've picked in the top 5 every year. As for us, I'm going to trade our pick away. There wasn't really anyone I want. We're going to get a pick from Boston probably towards the end of the first round next year, given that they have Everest McLeon, and they're probably going to be a contender. So now most of our guys, their contracts are nearing a close. Salis is 28, Rolog is 27, Stokes is 26, Destino's 29, Kuminga's 31, as he ends up accepting his player option, so he'll be back next year. In terms of our free agency, we don't really have too many guys to pay. Bone is in here. Romero Birkin is in here. I think I'm going to let Birkin walk. Him and Salis are just kind of redundant, and I think Salis is better. I did re-sign a Dembona, though, not that he's really going to play. Wembanyama to the Bulls. Wow, he'll be replaced in San Antonio by Evan Mobley. Martin Seafoot, meanwhile, goes to Miami, and Rob Dillingham to the Kings. Jonathan Kuminga goes down, too. It might be over for him, and then Dembona is just completely washed. He's really on the team for vibes at this point, not much else. We've had the same starting lineup, though, every year of the long-term sim up to this point. Our team is good, but I feel like we've slowly but surely kind of gotten passed by other teams in the NBA, and well, this season we would take the brunt of it. 25 and 26, we are in 9th place. Has this core run its course? With guys like Stokes and Rolog and Salis all nearing 30 years old, the best teams in 2K are generally the younger teams. We are no longer a young team. We are a veteran team with guys who have been in the league for almost a decade at this point. No one ends up making the All-Star team as we sim to the end of the year. Carson Adiakale wins his second MVP. We'll see if he wins his second title. Another depoy for Wemby now with the Bulls as we look at the All-NBA rosters. I think Victor Wembanyama was the only real player on an All-NBA team. That shows how far we are into the future in the mid-2030s. We end up in 9th place. We've won 7 games in a row, so I'm cautiously optimistic going into this playoff run. But we've got to win 2 playing games, and then that puts us as the 8th seed. We're playing against the Grizzlies. They still have Vishnik Plieva as we beat them, and now we've got the Sonics. Why are the Sonics here? Yeah, I didn't really think we had a chance of beating them. The Pelicans and the Celtics will play each other in the finals, and Boston wins it all. Yendi Cambridge, the finals MVP. Jason Tatum retires with a championship, while Everest McLeon in his, I think, 9th NBA season finally gets over the hump and wins it all. So Tatum retires with a ring. Trae Young retires in Atlanta. This guy's not serious. Atlanta to San Antonio to Dallas to Utah to San Antonio to Dallas to Atlanta. He's not a real person. Jalen Brunson, Zion Williamson, Herb Jones. This ended up being a really good trade acquisition for us. Had a career year shooting-wise, and I decided to capitalize on it by adding him. Of course, he had the crazy buzzer beater in Game 7 of the second round versus the Blazers in Season 6. That was crazy. David Fizdale retires. Jason Tatum and Trae Young to the Hall of Fame. Trae gets his number retired, but not Tatum? Huh? Played his whole career with Boston, 2-time champ. I don't know why his other stats are gone. Maybe that's why it didn't get retired. That's kind of stupid. Oh well, on to the draft lottery. We do have a lottery pick, projected number 16, and it will stay there. Our very first lottery pick of the entire series, given that this is the first time that we've missed the playoffs, and we've never traded for a lottery pick. I mean, we've been in possession of them, but we traded them away before the draft, such as that famous 2029 Sixer pick that we used to get ranking Destino. So with our very first ever lottery pick, keep in mind we also have number 32 from the Celtics. We're going to select Kobe Easley from Pitt, Glenn Jeffries from Cincinnati, and Pavio Rancic in the second round. The Sixers ended up having the number 1 pick, speaking of. But we end up with 3 rookies, trying to make this team a little bit younger now that we're not the new team on the block, and we've got an older core. Carson Adiakale, Rakai Stewart, Norwood Nobles, all entering free agency, as is our entire team. Literally, Ramon Hodge is our best player. All 5 of our starters, plus our 6th man, Antoine Salis, they're all gone. I think they're generally going to be cheaper. So I had the idea of signing some role players. I wanted to add Kalai Lushonis. He was a guy I wanted to draft a while ago. Johnny Furphy put up 27 against us in Game 7. So both of these guys would end up accepting as I start to bring our guys back. We start with Roman Loggins-Burrell. He says yes. The problem is we're going to have to renounce some of these rights if we want Lushonis or Furphy. And I think it just makes sense to bring our guys back because they're better. I am still going to have to renounce probably Ranking Destino's rights, which is unfortunate. But I think of our group, he's probably the most expendable because the offense is just not that good. We're going to offer Stokes, Salis, and Springer. They all say yes. We're going to offer Kuminga. He says yes, he's in there. So we would be able to bring everyone back there. And believe it or not, the game actually let us bring back Ranking Destino. So I figured, sure, why not? We'll keep him anyway. So that brings us to the end of free agency. We are going to run it back. I don't know how I feel about it, given that the team just missed the playoffs, but I trust this core. Dallas Carter to the Magic. Kobe Starling to the Raptors as we look at player progression. Kuminga goes down by 2 more. Everybody else is firmly in their prime. You'll notice inside scoring seems to be going down. That's a really important stat in this game, and the older players are not very good at it. So that could be a problem. I also feel like we need a rim protector, so I'm going to trade 2 first-rounders and some other stuff to the Clippers for Darrell Leonard. I think he's a good fit. I think we can slide Springer to his natural position, the 4, and we can have Jonathan Kuminga, who's declining, play a lesser role, and come off the bench. I think that's what I'm going to look to do in the future. For now, I think Kuminga's still good enough to be in the starting lineup, though, but that's kind of the plan probably next year. We're in the exact same spot, though. We're in 9th place, right around 500. The trade hasn't really changed anything. We're still mediocre. Salis is playing some good ball after that 14-point-per-game season a couple years ago. But the role players, Destino, Hodge, they're not shooting it well. That's a problem. No All-Stars this year, which is crazy. Shea's averaging 17 points a game on 40% shooting. Salis was averaging like 25. How did none of our guards make it? Everest McLeon wins the MVP. I think that's his 3rd, 1 year after winning a title. Steve Kerr, Coach of the Year in Denver. He's got to be like 70 years old at this point. He's still kicking it. So we ended up having a good second half of the year. We climb up to 6th place at 44 wins. That would have been 3rd in the East. The East had 3 teams above 500. The 4 seed and the 14 seed were separated by like 7 games. The team is playing well at the moment, but we've struggled with this Sonics team. They've got 2 guys 94 plus. Oh my God, we won. Oh my goodness, all the lower seeded teams in the West won. So that means the door is wide open to make it out of the Western Conference as we play the 7th seeded Pelicans and we lose. Unfortunate. New Orleans and Boston will rematch in the finals and Boston bops the floor. The Celtics went 16-1 in the playoffs. An all-time postseason for Everest McLeon. That brings us to retirements. Evan Mobley is done at 35. Kind of a weird career. I don't think he ever lived up to his potential, especially offensively. But he played a valuable role as our rim protector when we won the title. And the other years he was here, we made the finals. And ever since he's left, we haven't gotten back. Interestingly, Kalai Lushonis is in here. Nobody ended up picking him up. And, well, I guess he's done. I guess he's going to play in Europe or something. Jersey retirements. In this stage, we had Bam Adebayo and Franz Wagner. Franz played his entire career with the Orlando Magic. The Bulls end up with the number 1 pick, and I think they still have Wembanyama. So they're going to pair him with a talented young player. As for us, we do not have a first rounder. We traded it to the Clippers for that big Kristaps Porzingis Jr. Okay, he is the number 1 pick. He's a monster. And then the kid the Hawks drafted at number 2, another European big. He is also a beast. So at this point, our team has finished in 9th place 2 years in a row. I think we've got to shake it up. Our highest inside scoring grade is a B. That's a problem because most teams have a bunch of A's. Look at a guy like Kajai Stokes, for instance. His efficiency is slipping. So we've got to trade one of these guards. I'm going to trade Ranking Destino to the Spurs for Stone Simmons. I think he's a little bit more well-rounded. We're losing defense a little bit, but Simmons can still guard multiple positions, I feel like, at a high level. We are losing a lot of playmaking, though, which is unfortunate. I'm going to let Ramon Hodge go. The efficiency's just been too inconsistent. He shot the ball horribly this year. He didn't even shoot it well from 3. He's supposed to be a good 3-point shooter. And then Louis Delmar, I think we're going to let him go too. The offense has just never really developed. In terms of moves across the league, not a ton of notable switches. It was a pretty weak free agency class. Rolog goes down 1. He is 29, so that could be the start of his regression. Kuminga down 3. Yeah, it's over. In the sense of, like, you know, him being a good starter. He can still be a rotation player, I think, but probably not a starter. So I think this is where we will make the move of Jabari Springer back to the 4, his natural spot, Leonard to the 5, and with Destino gone, Salis will stay on the bench, Stone Simmons will play the 2, and KJ will play the 1. Well, our adjustments did not work. We are in 14th place. Our defense has taken a major hit with the loss of Destino. The playmaking, I guess, is not good. The efficiency is not good. Jabari Springer's barely shooting 40%. Kuminga's shooting less than 40%. It might be over for this core. I mean, this team has lost it. Dennis Gordon wins the MVP. That is a random one. He's continued to bounce around. He's on his 6th team, but he takes home an MVP with a really good Wizards team. Kristaps Porzingis Jr., the rookie, and the 6th man of the year. That's interesting. As for the All-NBA teams, at this point, it's entirely fictional, guys. Wemby's still making the 3rd team, but you can tell age is kind of catching up with him. Kristaps Porzingis Jr. will probably pass him soon. 15th place, 27-55. We've got a Nuggets versus Celtics final. Boston looking for another, and they sweep. A dynasty from Everest McLeon and the Celtics, who have now won it 3 years in a row after they couldn't get over the hump with Everest McLeon in his first 8 seasons. Shea, Ja, LaMelo, Giddey, Shaedon Sharpe, Jaden Ivey, Brandon Miller, Adem Bona all retire. Adem Bona, we traded for him in Season 1. We then traded him away in the Evan Mobley deal, but I really liked what he provided us, so we brought him back that offseason, and he's stuck around since. High energy, lob threat, efficient offensive player, and good rim protection. He was a really good role player. Bardo Campolo retires. He's a 65. He hit his peak in like his 5th year and then fell like a tank. Right when he got good, he started to regress. Regression was not kind to him. He started falling when he was like 25 years old. Shea and Ja make the Hall of Fame. Their numbers are both retired as well. We had the 4th best odds and get the 7th overall pick. We were that bad for pick 7. Wow. There's a couple guys I like in this class, but I don't really see a world where they get to the 7th pick. And I think the 2 guys with a B overall grade, I think they were the 1st and 2nd overall picks. So I'm going to trade this pick and Leonard to the Clippers. He returns to his old team for our 1st round pick next year that we used to get Leonard, along with a depth big man in Devin Sanders. This way we have control over all of our picks moving forward, and basically we either get another spin at the draft lottery, or in an ideal world our team is good and, well, we don't have to worry about that. Going into the offseason, I kind of want to make a big move at some point because it's sort of clear that this core has run its course, but it's about timing. We've got to figure out when the iron is hot. If we do end up with a valuable pick within the next couple of years, that could be a big-time trade chip for us. I'm going to try to add some role players. I signed a big man to replace the guy who we just traded away to the Clippers. Pretty underwhelming free agency. Silos Royal goes to the Grizzlies. That's about it. And again, not much change in terms of our rating. Stokes, his inside scoring goes down. Kuminga's a 74. Luka plans to retire, wants a farewell tour. Didn't he just have one last year? I guess he didn't retire. So, interestingly, his farewell tour will be with us. The game signed Luka, so I guess he's on our team. And not only that, but he is going to be in the rotation to start the year as like a 72. Well, the moves we made, again, did not really work out. We are in 15th place. We are 19-35. The team still is not good. And as mentioned earlier, it's obvious that this group has very much run its course. Everest McLeon wins the MVP here in the year 2038. I think he's at 4 MVPs at this point. Porfino Holmes wins the Depoy 2nd year in a row. Look at those numbers. That's like 6.5 stocks per game. That's insane. Zymir Logan, All-NBA first team, is like an 81 overall, sort of out of nowhere. Hello. But, yeah, we did not make the playoffs. We do climb up to number 13. We played better in the second half, despite a lot of injuries. Jabari Springer, less than 37% from the field. It might be over for him. We've got the Nuggets and the Celtics in the finals again, and this time Denver wins it all. No 4-peat for Boston. Luka does retire this time. He's joined by Alperen Şengün, Jalen Green, Jalen Duren, Asar and Amen Thompson, Jarris Walker's in there. Ramon Hodge never got a chance after his time in Golden State. He was a talented player, had some good seasons, but the efficiency was just never consistent. Luka makes the Hall of Fame, of course. He will get his number retired by both Dallas, where he made the finals twice, and then the Spurs, where he won a title with Wemby. We had the 8th best odds this time around. We end up at pick 9. So again, we do not move up here in 2038. So I'm going to use our 9th pick and trade it again. We're going to get Cleveland's first rounder next year in 2039 and their first rounder in 2041. So this gives us 2 additional first round picks to play around with for a big trade to try to get a needle-moving player who can fix this team. Stone Simmons is a free agent. I think I will try to bring him back, and then Kuminga, we're going to let him chill on the minimum for a few years. I want to add a depth big. I'm going to look at Yves Missi, who's been with the Pelicans for most of his career. All of those guys end up saying yes. Around the league, Joey Henry, who I think has bounced around a little bit. He goes back to the Kings. Otherwise, no major changes, I would say. In terms of regression, yeah, a lot. Rolog down 2, Simmons down 2, Springer down 2, Missi down 2. So we ended up making a huge deal with the Pacers that includes Jabari Springer. This hurts me because Jabari Springer's supposed to be a lifer, but his efficiency's gone really downhill. And I think this guy we're getting, 25-year-old center Chester Perkins, can be the guy. 18 and 11 last year, efficient offensive player, good defender. I'm also going to add Marcus Evans. He's a good catch-and-shoot guy. A little bit undersized to play the 4, but we do need a 4. I think he can do it. Perkins, though, is the big needle-moving get. I think we traded 4 first-round picks along with Jabari Springer to make it happen, and it's not working. We are in 16th place in the West. Perkins has been awesome, 28 and 15. He's incredible. Salis is averaging 27. Stokes is averaging 24. But Rolog has significantly regressed. Kuminga's not good. And the role players outside of our top 3 scorers have been dreadful. Perkins does make the All-Star team as Carson Adiakale wins the MVP. I think that's his 3rd now of his career. Porfino Holmes wins his 3rd Defensive Player of the Year, while Perkins makes the All-NBA 2nd team. So we clearly have a demon. The problem is it did not add to the win column. We only won 30 games. Perkins had a great year. Salis career high in scoring, and then Stokes was really good as well. The Sonics are back in the finals. They will play against the Bulls. And ultimately, Seattle finally gets over the hump. Rakai Stewart wins his first title, wins the finals MVP. Tyrese Halliburton, Scotty Barnes, Jonathan Kuminga all retired. His stats are gone before 2032, but Kuminga played for the Warriors for 18 years, won a title as a rookie. He was the only player from the initial roster who was on our title-winning team in Season 5. Very consistent starter, versatile defender, can shoot the ball, can score inside, 2-time NBA champion. Really, really good career. Never made the All-Star team, but a consistent 20-point-per-night guy. Hall of very good for Jonathan Kuminga, I would say. Gigi Jackson, Cason Wallace, Grady Dick. Marcus Evans gets hurt, and he's done. He wasn't any good with us this year to begin with, but I'm a little bit surprised he's done at the age of 30. Quinn Snyder, Lloyd Pierce retire. Halliburton to the Hall of Fame. Halliburton, Mathurin, Barnes get their jerseys retired. Well-deserved. I think Jonathan Kuminga should be in there. He was a key rotation guy for us for over 15 years. The Pacers have 3 lottery picks, one of which jumps to number 1. Not our pick, though. The pick we gave them in the Chester Perkins deal ended up being number 8 overall, so we didn't lose out on some top pick. Other than Perkins, though, we don't have many long-term contracts. We've got some flexibility, but we also have some guys to re-sign. This year it's Salis. He's coming off one of his best seasons, now at 33. And then I'm going to bring back Jabari Springer. This was always the plan. Once we traded him, I was going to let him play out the year in Indiana, and then I was going to try to bring him back. So Jabari Springer is returning to the Warriors. Everybody other than Perkins is getting worse, though. Rolog is an 81. Not looking good for him. We only have like 6-7 guys on the roster, and I feel like we need a playmaking guard. So I'm going to get Zamir Logan, who's only a year removed from the All-NBA first team. He's not going to make the first team again because he's not surrounded by garbage, but I think he can be a good table-setting playmaker. Ron, we are 10 and 40. Thank God we have our first round pick this year because this team sucks. We are by far the worst team in the NBA, even with Chester Perkins averaging 30. Jabari Springer's averaging 32% from the field. Rolog is at 37%. Those 2 guys are washed. Stokes and Salis are still kind of good, though. which makes me think that we need to trade these two away if they want to win anything. It's not going to happen in Golden State. I don't normally do this, but I feel like we would be doing these two guys a disservice if we don't give them a chance to win elsewhere. Salis is going to the Raptors. Stokes is going to the Lakers. Rolog and Springer are going to stay here because I don't really think they're going to provide value to winning teams. So the plan is we are going to live vicariously through the Raptors and the Lakers now because I want to see those guys get a second ring. It's not going to happen here. The championship window is closed. Even with a player as good as Chester Perkins, this team won 18 games. We're not good. Now, interestingly, both Stokes and Salis struggled with their new teams. So I guess the change of scenery didn't really help them. I wanted to keep those two guys in Golden State forever, but I want to give them a chance to win. One title's not enough. It's not going to happen this year. The Nuggets with Ronnie Stanley win the Finals MVP over the Sixers. Going into player retirements, Cade Cunningham is done after 19 years, 3 titles with Detroit, one of the all-time greats. Paolo Banchero spent almost his whole career with the Magic. Anthony Black, Chet Holmgren, Zachary Rizache, Rankin Destino. Had a lot of years with the Spurs, finished in Boston. Of course, had some big years with us as our lead playmaker, our number 1 perimeter defender. He played a really good role for us. The offense and the shooting was just never consistent, but he was a good role player. He was a championship role player. Jabari Springer is in here as well at 34 years old. He was a second-round pick by Detroit, let go of after 1 year, and we signed him, and it looked like a Nepo move. Well, as it turns out, Jabari Springer ended up being a darn good basketball player. 16.5 points per game, 9.5 rebounds, 5 assists, really good playmaker, versatile defender, good three-point shooter, was never very efficient from 2. That was the weakness, but he ended up being, again, a very solid championship role player. Osborne Outeridge we used to get Rankin Destino. He turned into a really good player, 20-9 with good defense and really improved the efficiency. So shout out to him. Cade Cunningham and Chet Holmgren make the Hall of Fame. How did Cade only make 5 All-Stars? Cade, Paulo, Chet, Cam Whitmore, and Bub Carrington get numbers retired. Nothing for Springer. That's criminal. We had the 3rd pick in the draft. Okay, it could have been worse. We had the number 1 odds. There's a stud at the top of the draft, though, and we're going to go get him. Edward Cook, who we got in the Kajai Stokes deal, and pick 3 for pick 1 and another player. Tyler Brooks looks like one of the best prospects of this series, and I think he can be the guy who turns around this franchise while Stokes and Salis, hopefully, can contend elsewhere. We're going to re-sign Rolog. Again, I don't think he's going to help out a winning team, so we might as well let him play out his career here. Stokes is a free agent as well. He ends up going back to the Lakers on a 3-year deal. Salis, meanwhile, I think has 1 more year. The game ended up signing O.J. Crawford for us as well, a 6'1", 90 overall guard. So all of a sudden, there's a little bit to be excited about. This guy just made the All-NBA first team. Perkins, Crawford, and Brooks as the long-term big 3. We might be getting something going here. Rolog is still in the rotation. He is now a bench player at this point. Our new team is 20-29. I'm not too worried about it. It's the first year with this core. Give it time. Once Brooks is really good, we might be moving. Salis is averaging 16. He's been pretty solid. Stokes is not on the Lakers, though. They traded him to the Atlanta Hawks. He's having a great year shooting-wise, and the Hawks are one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. So I think this is a good thing for KJ. They're in 4th place, 34-18. The Lakers were more so kind of towards the middle. Salis' Raptors, meanwhile, are in 6th, as Sasa Jovanovic of the Hawks wins the MVP. Tyler Brooks takes the Rookie of the Year. We're not going to be in the playoffs, or if we do get in as a play-in team, I'm not really expecting a run. So again, we'll be living vicariously through the Hawks, who are the number 1 seed, and the Raptors, who end up in 5th. We get in 10th place at 35-47. Stokes continued to play well with Atlanta, averaging nearly 20 a game. He really hasn't declined at all. Salis is going downhill a bit, but is still a good microwave scorer off the bench. Both of those guys are a lot better than Rolog. Following Golden State's play-in exit, the Hawks will play the Raptors in the 2nd round. Atlanta sweeps them, but they're not going to the finals, despite Stokes having an awesome postseason. 23 a game on great shooting. The Nuggets win the title again with Darnell Thompson, the finals MVP. 3rd championship in 4 years for Denver as they sweep the Wizards. Scoot Henderson, Nikola Topic, Carson Young, Antoine Salis, and Rolog retire. I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to override Salis' retirement. I kind of want him and Loggins-Burrell to retire separately. I want to give everybody their own season. So we'll start with Roman Loggins-Burrell, who, in my opinion, was the most talented player on our championship core. It took a little bit for him to really become a consistent player, but once he figured it out, he was the best player on the team. 25 point per game scorer, 3 All-Stars, an All-NBA second team. The jump shot really improved. The defense and the playmaking at his size, really impressive. Very, very good career for Roman Loggins-Burrell, one of my favorites of this series. Dennis Gordon retires as well. A weird one because he played on a gazillion different teams. Won an MVP randomly with the Wizards. That was his only year there, by the way. Yet you have guys like Rolog and even Ben Hernandez here who stay on one team their whole career. Nick Nurse and Mark Daignault retire. LV Mihaljevic gets his number retired by the Bulls, even though throughout the series he was with the Wizards. And then Rolog gets his number 25 retired by us. He does not make the Hall of Fame, however. And with Rolog gone, none of the players who won the championship with us are still on the roster. And I think Salis and Stokes at this point are the only two who are still in the league. We do not have our first round pick this year. We traded it away to the Pacers. That pick will be at number 11. Still worth it because Chester Perkins is a machine. Going into free agency, Antoine Salis' contract has expired, and part of the reason why I overrid his retirement is so he could come back here. Once his deal was up, I knew I wanted to bring him back. Now that it seems like he's regressed. The game also signed Shaedon Barnabas for us, but then he just didn't show up on our roster, so I guess he's not coming. Brooks goes up 6. Hello, I love seeing that. Farewell tour for Anthony Edwards. He's in like his 21st or 22nd year at this point. This is what the roster looks like. Salis back into the rotation. He's going to start for us this year. Stokes, meanwhile, really hasn't regressed. He's an 85, 6-man on a contending Hawks team. As you can see, our big three is looking pretty strong. Crawford's been disappointing. The others have been good. Salis is having a great year, 46% from 3. It looks like he will definitely retire at the end of the year. Stokes, meanwhile, 17 a game on really good shooting. He still really hasn't regressed, and the Hawks are in second place in the Eastern Conference. Sasa Jovanovic wins the MVP once again. So that Hawks team with the MVP of 2 straight years, a really good roster, and Kajai Stokes, they could be in business. Cam McKnight wins the Defensive Player of the Year on 67% true shooting. McKnight was like the best scorer in the league at one point. Now he's the best defender. He's out here doing side quests. Everest McLeon still making All-NBA first teams. He has not regressed at all. Carson Adiakale really hasn't gotten any worse either. I think McLeon, Adiakale, and McKnight are probably the 3 best drafted players of the series. Those guys have all been phenomenal. They've all won MVPs. They've all won championships. Atlanta is the number 1 seed, so we're pulling for them. The Warriors lose in the first round as the 6th seed. Good to see Golden State in the playoffs, though. Hawks lose in the second round. Stokes was again phenomenal in the playoffs as the Clippers win the finals over the Magic. Anthony Edwards retires, spent his whole career in Minnesota. Points per game went down drastically, but his efficiency was always really good. He just stopped shooting the ball. He's still an 87. He didn't really get worse. Only won 1 title in 2026. I'm surprised he never won more. Victor Wembanyama is done as well. Played for a few different teams. He also only won 1 title with Luka. I'm surprised they didn't win another one. Still a very good career, though, for Wemby, who's a 91. So he also really did not get much worse. Salis is in here, along with some other notable players, including Kobe Starling. Remember, we had a choice between him, Rolog, and Stokes. We didn't pick Starling. Zamir Logan is here as well, Zay Logan's son. I guess he was better than Zay. He made the All-NBA first team. Louis Delwar bounced around, finished his career with us. Just never really developed the jump shot. And then we get to Antoine Salis, another one of my favorites from this series. I'm happy we kept him around the entire time, minus the stint in Toronto. Phenomenal microwave bench scorer who ended up becoming more than that. A capable playmaker, a capable defender, and a very key part on our title team. He ended up getting traded late, but it was because he was still good. It was a compliment. Shout out to Antoine Salis as Wemby and Edwards make the Hall of Fame. They get their numbers retired along with Salis, number 0, and Lazare Badiaga, who did win a title in Brooklyn, so I understand that one. So with that, there are no more real players left. Wemby and Edwards were the last 2. Shaedon Barnabas is the oldest player left, and Kajai Stokes is not too far lower at 34 years old. His inside scoring is a D+, but the rest of his game is phenomenal. He is the only player left from the championship Warriors still in the NBA. Across free agency, we ended up re-signing Chester Perkins. That was an easy decision for us as we now have 3 90s. The game signed Baba Ko as well. That's fire. This dude was hell to play against in the finals. Now he's on our side. Kajai Stokes only goes down by 1. Regression really hasn't hit him. He's the 6th best player on a loaded Hawks team. That might be the best roster in the league. We're going to start to move faster now. Edward Cook, who we traded Stokes for, wins the 6th man of the year in Milwaukee. Porfino Holmes, now with the Bulls, his 6th defensive player of the year. Chester Perkins wins the clutch player of the year. And O.J. Crawford, all NBA first team after a down season last year. We ended up having a pretty strong year for guys individually, but we didn't make the playoffs, 39-43. The Hawks took a step back. Stokes took a big step back. It might be Kajai Stover, but give him credit for staying good this long. The Hawks ended up not really doing anything in the playoffs as the Clippers win the title again. This time they beat Toronto. Retirements. Laszlo Zonka had kind of a weird career. He was super talented, but I feel like he could have been more. Martin Sifa, phenomenal defender. He did develop into a great scorer. Really good player. Shaden Barnabas was phenomenal for a while with the Hawks. Baba Ko is in there, retires as a Warrior. That's a little bit ironic. Yendi Cambridge into the Hall of Fame, although that's clearly not Yendi Cambridge. But first drafted player into the Hall of Fame, the former Finals MVP with the Celtics. Laszlo Zonka, Shaden Barnabas, KJ Jeffries all get jerseys retired. Well deserved. As for the lottery, we had the 14th pick, and the game traded it away for a guard who's a good player, but he's 34. And, well, I don't think we need a guard because Kajai Stokes is a free agent, and I think I'm ready to bring him back. He went on some runs in Atlanta, never ended up making it back to the finals. Now I think it's time for him to ride out in the sunset with the Warriors as we end up bringing him back. I wanted to end up making another move, so you'll notice here at the top of this list is Jan Hansen. Now, why is Jan Hansen here? Because he's a real prospect. Well, what I did with the draft classes is I always edited the real draft classes so the fake prospects could have realistic tendencies and all that. But there were some real players who slipped through the cracks. And I thought it'd be funny to sign Jan Hansen, but we didn't have enough money even after making a trade. So instead, we're just going to get some scrub role players, unfortunately. Crawford and Brooks, though, now 92s. Stokes goes down to an 81, so the regression is really starting to begin for him. Since we don't need Dale Hart, I'm going to trade him to the Spurs for Noah Longley. A familiar face. He was the 3rd pick in 2026. It was a surprise when he got picked that high. Never really was like an all-star caliber guy, but another Hall of Very Good type player. He was a really productive guy for a while, and now hopefully can have some good seasons here in Golden State. Jimmy Potter wins the MVP, only 24 years old with the Lakers. Perkins and Brooks make the All-NBA second team. I'm excited about this duo as we get the number 2 seed, 57 and 25. Could this be our last title run with Kajai Stokes, who, again, did not have a great year. He shot 39% from the field, and he says this is it for him. So we'll see if that's true. The Nuggets in the first round, they've been mainstays in the finals, but only the 7th seed this year. We're going to sim slower because I feel like this is a big chance for us. We end up winning in 5. The Kings in the second round, they have a pretty strong roster. The Battle of the Bay, and we mop the floor. We're 8-1 in the playoffs, but now we've got the MVP, Jimmy Potter, and the Los Angeles Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. Can we get back to the finals for the first time since the first season of the video? No. We lose in 5. Stokes, in probably his final game, puts up 14 points, and the Lakers sweep the Nets to win the finals. Kajai Stokes does retire along with Silan Novikov, former MVP, spent pretty much his whole career at the Blazers, finished in Charlotte. Jamar Fofana, really energetic defender, was a good but not great scorer. You know who was a great scorer? Dallas Carter. Had some phenomenal years with the Clippers. Zolio Galvez was a really good player for a while with the Pelicans. And then we get to Kajai Stokes, the final member of the Championship Warriors team. Finals MVP in just his 3rd season. A guy who really struggled early on as a rookie. I had quick second guesses about that pick, but he turned it around fast. Never made the All-Star team, believe it or not, but was a really good 3-lay scorer, could really defend. Had a couple good seasons late in his career as well with Atlanta, but obviously most known for his time with Golden State, where he was the number 1 option on a title contender. Compared to the other number 1 options on title contenders throughout this series, he's probably the worst one. But he still was. Does not make the Hall of Fame, though. He does get his jersey number 3 retired, which is well-deserved. I mean, I guess you can't really put a non-All-Star in the Hall of Fame, but come on, he kind of does deserve it. So at this point, none of our guys are left. I still want to see what happens in the careers of everybody else, so we're going to start to really move quick. The Nets win the finals. Dion Wallace won the MVP this year. We made it to the Western Conference Finals. Noah Longley retires. CeCe Cunningham retires, ironically, with the Warriors. I mean, he stuck around for 17 years, but he did not meet expectations. He had a career shooting percentage of like 40. No Hall of Famers, no jersey retirements. Everest McLeon, now 38. He really has not regressed at all. As I started to simulate, I noticed the scores were very low. The one year I forget to do league meetings, they upped the shot clock to 30 seconds. So McLeon will not be chasing LeBron's scoring record. We had 4 guys in the league average over 20 a game this year as the Nets win back-to-back titles. Javonte Fitzgerald retires. His best years were definitely early on with the Lakers, even if he was with the Thunder longer. Baptiste Bisconde, 3-time champ. Throughout this series, he was with the Raptors the whole time, but his great years were with the Nuggets. Everest McLeon is done. I think he's far and away the best drafted player in this series. He missed 1 free throw his final year. That is ridiculous. He averaged 27 a game in his career. He was a 30-plus point per game guy religiously. 4-time MVP, 3-time champ, 15-time All-Star, 12-time first-team All-NBA. What a career with the Celtics. Norwood Nobles retires. Never really won anything, but a very good player. He makes the Hall of Fame with McLeon, Silos Royal, Javonte Fitzgerald, and even Joey Henry, who was drafted today. A lot of jersey retirements, but I noticed someone is missing. Where is McLeon? Remember, the Celtics did not retire Tatum's when he retired. I don't get what Boston's doing. Why are they not retiring these guys? Cam McKnight plans to retire at the end of the year. He's now the oldest guy left. Roy Gilliard might be the worst MVP I've ever seen. 41% from the field, 21 points per game. I did change the shot clock back. His own teammate averaged 33. As for our guys, Tyler Brooks is a 97. He's a machine. Perkins is 34 years old. We've had him for almost a decade, and he has not gotten worse at all. Despite that, we haven't been able to make the finals with those guys as the Spurs win it all. In terms of retirements, Keontae Rivers retires with the Warriors, started his career with the Magic, was traded for Gigi Jackson, who then ended up returning to Montreal, and Rivers ended up spending most of his career in Orlando, ironically. Cam McKnight spent pretty much his whole career with the Wizards other than the final season. 1-time champ, 1-time finals MVP, 8-time All-NBA, one of the best players of the series. He goes to the Hall of Fame with Arvon Jackson and others. A couple more jersey retirements. And with that, there's really not many guys left. There's only like 4. Carson Adiakale is still here. It looks like he's going to retire at the end of this season. We are now in 2048. The Warriors would only make the play-in. I don't know why our team is not better. We have one of the best players in the league with Brooks and Perkins, who's still a monster, as the Pacers win the finals, and the last 4 players I was waiting for to retire are all done. Roddy Ramirez was in the 2029 draft class, so he would have gotten picked right before the sim year. Porfino Holmes was as well. He averaged less than 10 points per game in his career, yet he absolutely should be a Hall of Famer. 7-time Defensive Player of the Year. He was top 15 in both blocks and steals. That's like Rudy Gobert, basically, his similar resume. Rakai Stewart with the Sonics ended up winning a title with Seattle, spent his whole career there. Only a 3-time third-team All-NBA. I'm surprised he didn't make it more. Carson Adiakale, 3-time MVP. He was one of the best players throughout the series. His play did kind of take a hit at the end with the Hornets, but he did spend his whole career there. Steve Kerr, by the way, never retired. I Googled it. He would be 82 years old. Stuck around, still with the Nuggets. As for the Hall of Fame, Adiakale and Stewart both make it. No Porfino Holmes. I disagree completely. 7-time Defensive Player of the Year should get you in the Hall of Fame. He does get his number retired along with Adiakale, Stewart, and some guy whose name I've never seen in my life. So that means everybody who was drafted in this series is gone. Everyone. I feel like we've done a good job setting this Warriors team up with Perkins and Tyler Brooks, who's going to be one of the best players in the league over the next decade. It's a shame we never won another title, though. We made it to the finals in the first season of the video, and we never got back. Kajai Stokes, Antoine Salis, Roman Loggins-Burrell, those guys only ended up winning 1 championship in their NBA career. Stokes still has the all-time playoff points record with 78 in a loss. LeBron holds the all-time scoring record still. McLeon would have been in second if not for the shot clock thing, he was only 15 points behind Anthony Edwards. None of our guys were in the top 100, which I find interesting. We had to have had some guys close. I always love looking at the three-point list. It shows how much the league has changed. Edward Cook is in first. That's the guy we got for Stokes. Curry's still in fourth, which just shows how dominant he was, playing in an entirely different era. We had Klay Thompson all the way in the 50s, though. Rolog finished in the top 100. I'm surprised Salis didn't make it, though, given that he was primarily a three-point shooter. A number of the records ended up not getting broken. A lot of the untouchable ones, Stockton's assists, Wilt Chamberlain's rebounds. Victor Wembanyama is the block record. Carson Adiakale is in the top 20 as a guard. That's wild. LeBron is the most minutes and turnovers. I want to see the minutes because this is kind of like the longevity stat. I did not see any of our guys on this list either. In terms of the MVPs, we never had an MVP. I think Rolog was in the top 5 in his career once. That was about it. Luka won the first 2. Wemby then won 4. Everest McLeon had 3 or 4. Adiakale had a few. And then in terms of championships, the first 6-7 years, we had entirely new teams, entirely new finals MVPs. We did not have a repeat finals MVP until Everest McLeon went back-to-back in 2036 and 37. The dynasties of this series were the Pistons, who won 3 with Cade Cunningham, the Celtics, who won 3 with McLeon, the Nuggets, who won 3 with multiple different finals MVPs. We had a bunch of repeat champions in the 2030s and 40s, but no repeat champions in the 2020s, which I find really interesting. I guess other than technically the Warriors, but the 2022 team who beat Boston, and then the team who beat Detroit in Season 5 of this series in 2029, they were entirely different. So that is going to wrap things up for this series. What a journey it has been with the Golden State Warriors, and building this team up was a lot different than many of the previous ones because we didn't have the same star power we've had in the past. The Blazers series last year, Scoot Henderson and Darius Springer both won MVPs during the long-term sim. We had the core 4 with those guys and Khalil Griffin and Shaedon Sharpe. That star power was a lot better than the group we assembled here. 2K22 with the Sonics. That team won 16 championships in a row in the long-term sim. 16 in a row. Is that not crazy? This team won 0. The Cavs in 2K21 won 6 in a row. In 2K23, when we also controlled the Wolves, they had a bunch of championships with Apollo Thanopoulos and Coco Diablo. But this team was different. As we focused on more hyper-realism, it was a lot harder to build a championship contender, and we never really became a true dynasty, per se. We made the finals 3 years in a row, all 3 times against Detroit, and we only won it once, and we lost the other 2. We had guys like Kajai Stokes never make the All-Star team. Antoine Salis was never an All-Star. Jonathan Kuminga was never an All-Star. Rolog only made it 3 times, but he was never a Hall of Famer. It's always a given that our guys at the end of the series make the Hall of Fame. This time around, they didn't. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. I feel like that's what makes this team and this series different compared to the other ones. This was less about the star power that we had and more about the team building. As I've always mentioned throughout the playoffs, I've been very intentional with the type of players who I've targeted and obviously the strategy going into the playoffs of keeping guys fully healthy, keeping guys rested, because half the battle in the NBA playoffs is being the healthiest team left. We had a very short peak, which really started the playoff run of our championship, and I would say that peak lasted another couple of years, and then unfortunately the core never really was the same after that, but they were still really good for a while. Kajai Stokes never really got worse until his mid-30s. Salis had some good years into his 30s. Rolog regressed quicker than the others, but his peak was also the best, given that he made 3 All-Stars and an All-NBA second team. Picking the Warriors was also a very unique choice to begin with because normally I choose not-so-good teams in my franchise modes, but the Warriors were kind of a fringe contender when I picked them. Obviously having a guy in Stephen Curry who's one of the best players ever, and then making the move in year number 1 to go out and get Jimmy Butler at the trade deadline, who ended up sticking around with Steph for another 2.5 years, nearly making it to the finals in year number 3. To think we were up by 15 points with 5 minutes left in that game, and if we had won, I think we would have stomped the Pacers in the final. Especially that we only ended up winning 1 championship in this series. That choke against the Spurs will probably haunt me for a while. But nonetheless, a very unique series in my opinion. different than a lot of my other ones in a lot of positive ways that I really enjoyed, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. But as I mentioned, we're starting a new era with 2K26. The format that I've gone with for this series over the last few years will look very different. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. I'll have more information in episode 1 of the new series. So that is where we're going to wrap things up for the Golden State Warriors, my NBA franchise, here on NBA 2K25. It has been a blast running with this team this year, and I hope you guys had as much fun as I did. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are excited for NBA 2K26 content kicking off tomorrow. Peace out.